Single dad helped a biker and lost his job. But what happened next shocked everyone. He helped a biker for 30 seconds. That one decision cost him his job, his reputation, and nearly his child's future. But 3 nights later, the sound outside his house made the entire street freeze. Before the story continues, subscribe to Bikershype, like this video, and share it with your friends, because stories like this don't just entertain, they change how you see the world. Ethan Cole wasn't a hero. He didn't wear leather jackets. He didn't ride loud machines. He didn't believe in fate, karma, or miracles. He believed in overtime, rent deadlines, and a small 7-year-old girl named Lily, who waited for him every night with homework spread across the kitchen table. Ethan was a single dad, and that title carried more weight than any biker patch ever could. His wife had died 4 years earlier in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and broken promises, cancer, fast, merciless. The kind that doesn't give you time to prepare your heart. Since then, Ethan had lived on autopilot. Wake up at 5:30 a.m., make Lily breakfast, walk her to the bus stop, work 10 hours at Harrison Logistics warehouse, pick Lily up from after-school care, cook, clean, sleep. Repeat. No shortcuts, no risks, no mistakes. Because when you're all a child has left, you don't get to gamble. The night everything Kahajin it was raining. Not dramatic, cinematic rain, just cold, miserable drizzle that soaked through jackets and turned streets into mirrors. Ethan's shift had ended late. Again, he drove home in silence, fingers tight around the steering wheel, calculating numbers in his head like he always did. Rent, electric bill, Lily's school trip money. Then he saw the biker. The man was on one knee at the side of the road, bike tipped over, hazard lights blinking weakly, a massive machine, black and scarred, like it had lived 1,000 lives. Ethan slowed instinctively. Then his brain kicked in. Don't stop. You're late. You don't know him. You have a kid. The man looked up. One eye was swollen shut, blood mixed with rain on his cheek. His leather jacket was torn, no visible patch, just plain black, worn like armor. Their eyes met for half a second. That was all it took. Ethan pulled over. 30 seconds of kindness. Bike won't start, the biker said, voice calm despite the pain. Battery's dead. Ethan glanced up and down the road. Empty. Just rain and streetlights. I can call roadside, Ethan said. The biker shook his head. Won't make it in time. Ethan hesitated, then popped his trunk. Jumper cables, old, rusted, still usable. They worked in silence. Ethan's hands shook, not from fear, but from instinct, screaming that this wasn't smart. The biker moved carefully, clearly injured, but precise, disciplined. The engine roared to life. For a moment, the sound swallowed the rain. Thank you, the biker said simply. He reached into his jacket. Ethan stepped back immediately. No, I don't want money. The biker paused, studying him. Really looking. You got kids? He asked. Ethan swallowed. A daughter. The biker nodded slowly. Then you did the right thing. He climbed onto the bike, wincing, and before riding off, said something Ethan wouldn't understand until much later. World remembers men like you, even when you don't want it to. Then he was gone. The Sayo and Esekio and Sequins. Next morning, Ethan was called into the office. 2 supervisors, 1 HR rep. A photo sat on the table. It was him, on the roadside, jumper cables in hand. You stopped during company hours, the manager said flatly. I was off the clock, Ethan replied. You were in a company vehicle. Ethan felt the room tilt. There's more, HR added, sliding another paper forward. A security alert, anonymous complaint, employee assisting known criminal affiliate. Ethan laughed once, sharp and unbelieving. I don't even know his name. The manager didn't laugh. We can't risk association. The words hit harder than the termination letter. By noon, Ethan was unemployed. By evening, Lily asked a question no child should ever have to ask. Daddy, are we in trouble? Ethan hugged her tighter than he ever had. No, he lied softly. We're okay. But he wasn't sure anymore. Ethan thought helping a biker had ruined his life. He was wrong, because somewhere out there, a man with one swollen eye and a debt he never forgot was making calls. And when bikers decide someone matters, the world listens. If you love biker stories, if you respect loyalty, brotherhood, and honor, Subscribe to Bikershype right now. Like and share this video with your friends. If you love the spirit of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us complete our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. The name he never asked. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Lily finally drifted off around midnight. Her small hand curled around his finger, like she was afraid he might disappear if she let go. Ethan lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the old refrigerator and the distant sound of rain hitting the windows. Unemployment wasn't just a word, it was a countdown. Every hour without work felt like sand slipping through his hands. At 6 a.m. he got up anyway. Habit, routine, survival, muscle memory. He made Lily breakfast, tied her shoelaces, and walked her to the bus stop like nothing had changed. When the bus pulled away, Ethan stood there longer than usual. He didn't know where to go next. A man without a BADG by noon. Ethan had applied to 5 jobs online. By 2, his phone battery was at 12%, and his hope was lower. That's when the first strange thing happened. A black sedan rolled slowly past the cafe, where Ethan sat nursing a single cup of coffee he couldn't really afford. Tinted windows, expensive, quiet. It didn't stop, but it didn't feel accidental either. Ethan brushed it off. He was tired, paranoid. People didn't get followed just for helping a stranger jump a bike, right? The biker's side of the SDORY 3 miles away, inside an abandoned auto shop that smelled like oil and old ghosts. The biker from the roadside sat shirtless on a metal chair, while another man stitched the cut above his eye. Hold still, the man muttered. The biker didn't flinch. His name was Marcus, though almost no one used it anymore. To most, he was just Reaper, not because he liked the nickname, but because it stuck after he walked away from things most men didn't walk away from. Reaper stared at the concrete floor. Found him? Someone asked from the shadows. Reaper nodded. Single dad. Name's Ethan Cole. A pause. He didn't ask for money. Didn't ask my name. The man stitching him snorted. Smart. Reaper shook his head slowly. No. Rare. The call that shouldn't have been made. Later that night, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Hello. Silence. Then a voice, deep, calm, controlled. You helped a man on Route 17 last night. Ethan's spine stiffened. Who is this? My name doesn't matter, the voice replied. What matters is that you didn't walk away. Ethan swallowed. I lost my job because of that. There was a pause on the other end. Not surprise, not regret, something closer to anger. That won't stand, the voice said. Ethan laughed bitterly. With all due respect, whoever you are, you can't fix that. Another pause. Then, we'll see. The line went dead. Ethan sat there, phone in hand, heart racing. For the first time since his wife died, he felt something unfamiliar. Expectation. Whispers. Start MOV and Ethan next morning. Harrison Logistics had a problem. Then another. Then 3 more. A delivery truck failed inspection. A supplier suddenly delayed shipments. A long-time client cancelled a contract with no explanation. By noon, management was sweating. By evening, the warehouse supervisor was on the phone with corporate, voice shaking. No, I don't know why, he said. It's like everyone just decided we're radioactive. The Bikershype at 8:17 p.m. Someone knocked on Ethan's door. 3 slow knocks. Not aggressive, not polite, precise. Ethan opened the door halfway. The man standing there was massive. Leather jacket, no visible patch, hair pulled back, eyes sharp but not unkind. Ethan Cole, the man asked. Yes, I'm here about the biker you helped. Ethan's heart pounded. I didn't do anything wrong. The man nodded. We know. He stepped back slightly, revealing the black sedan parked at the curb. May we talk? The truth comes or out inside the apartment. The man sat carefully, like someone used to rooms smaller than his presence. You helped one of ours, he said. Ethan stiffened. I didn't know. That's why it matters. The man interrupted gently. You didn't know. You still stopped. Ethan hesitated. Why are you here? The man looked toward Lily's room, then back at Ethan. To tell you something simple, he said. Actions echo, especially among men who live by loyalty. He stood. And to tell you this, you didn't lose your job because you helped a biker. Ethan frowned. Then why? You lost it because your bosses panicked. The man opened the door. They're about to learn the difference. The street holds its beer edge that night. The black sedan returned. Then another. Then another. They parked quietly up and down the street, engines off, lights dark, neighbors peeked through curtains, phones came out. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. Something big had arrived. Ethan stood at the window, Lily asleep behind him, watching silhouettes move with calm purpose. And for the first time since everything fell apart, he didn't feel alone. Ethan still didn't know the biker's real name, but he was about to learn something far more important. When loyalty is earned, it's never small. If this story has your heart racing, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you respect biker brotherhood and the spirit of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers goal. Now prove your love. The weight of an arm. The next morning didn't feel real. Ethan woke before the alarm, heart already racing, as if his body knew something his mind didn't. Outside, the street looked normal again. No black sedans, new silhouettes, just trash cans, wet pavement, and a neighbor walking a dog like nothing extraordinary had happened. But something had happened. You don't feel that kind of presence and forget it. Lily shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. Daddy, are the scary cars gone? Ethan froze for half a second. What scary cars? She shrugged. The quiet ones. Children noticed things, adults pretended not to. They were just visitors, Ethan said, forcing a smile. Everything's okay. Lily nodded, trusting him the way only children could. That trust weighed more than fear ever had. The call from UNOWHRA, 10:43 a.m. Ethan's phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. He stepped outside before answering. Hello, you holding up? The calm voice asked. Ethan recognized it immediately. You're the one who called last night. Yes. What do you want? Ethan asked. Not angry, just exhausted. To finish what started on the roadside, the voice replied. Ethan leaned against the railing. I didn't start anything. A low chuckle. That's what men like you always say. A pause. My name is Marcus, the voice continued. Most people call me Reaper. Ethan's stomach tightened. He didn't know why, just that names like that didn't come from desk jobs. Why tell me this? Ethan asked. Because names matter, Reaper said, and because mine carries weight he never asked for. The story behind the SCI Ripper didn't explain everything. Men like him never did, but he told enough. He spoke about loyalty, not the loud, tattooed kind people saw on TV, but the quiet rules that kept men alive when the world turned ugly. Where I come from, Reaper said, you don't forget someone who stops when it's easier to drive away. Ethan stared at the street. I didn't do it for recognition. I know, Reaper replied. That's why I'm doing this. Doing what? Reaper's voice hardened just slightly. Balancing things. The warehouse PNECS by noon. Harrison Logistics was in freefall. A senior manager was pulled into an emergency board call. Their biggest regional contract had vanished overnight. Not renegotiated. Vanished. The warehouse supervisor who fired Ethan was called into the office again, this time pale, sweating through his shirt. You fired a man yesterday? Corporate asked. Yes, the supervisor said carefully. For helping someone. For associating with Stop. The voice on speaker snapped. Do you know who that someone was? Silence. No, the supervisor admitted. Then you should have. The call ended abruptly. No explanation. No mercy. A visit from the UNAXPCTID that afternoon. Someone knocked on Ethan's door again. This time, it wasn't a biker. It was a woman in a clean blazer, holding a folder. Mr. Cole, she asked. I'm from Harrison Logistics Corporate. Ethan's heart dropped. If this is about legal, we'd like to offer you your job back. She interrupted. Ethan blinked. What? Effective immediately, with back pay. She hesitated, then added, and a written apology. Ethan stared at her like she'd started speaking another language. Why? He asked. The woman smiled tightly. Mistakes were made. That was corporate language for fear. The price of HLP after she left. Ethan sat at the kitchen table for a long time. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt something else. Unease. He dialed the number again. It rang once before connecting. I didn't ask for this, Ethan said. Reaper's voice was calm. You didn't ask for anything. That's the point. This feels big, Ethan admitted. It is, Reaper replied, but it doesn't own you. A pause. I won't drag you into my world, Reaper continued. You don't belong there. You belong with your daughter. Ethan swallowed. Then why help? Because someday, Reaper said quietly, Your daughter might need someone to stop when others won't." The line went silent. The neighborhood KNOWS word traveled fast, not about Ethan. About respect. Neighbors who barely nodded before now waved. The landlord suddenly fixed the broken stair railing. A bag of groceries appeared outside Ethan's door with no note. The street had felt the shift, and streets always knew when power moved. A name spoken with Nine. Lily asked, "Daddy, are you friends with the motorcycle man?" Ethan smiled softly. "I think so. Is he nice?" Ethan thought about the swollen eye, the calm voice, the way everything had changed. "Yes," he said finally, in his own way. Lily nodded, satisfied. "I hope he's okay." Ethan looked out the window at the quiet road. "So do I." Ethan had his job back. His life looked normal again, but normal was an illusion, because once you earn the respect of men who live by loyalty, you're never invisible again. If this story means something to you, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you respect biker loyalty and the spirit of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers goal. Now prove your love. The debt that never deepest the peace didn't last. It never does. Ethan noticed it first in the quiet moments, the ones where life slowed just enough for instincts to speak. The warehouse felt different when he returned. People smiled too much. Managers avoided eye contact. Conversations stopped when he walked past. Respect and fear often wore the same face. He clocked in, did his job, kept his head down. He didn't talk about the biker, didn't ask questions. Men like Ethan survived by understanding one rule: if you don't belong to a storm, don't chase its thunder. But storms had a way of finding people anyway. The truth behind the CRAs. That night, Reaper called again. "I owe you an explanation," he said. Ethan didn't answer right away. Lily was asleep. The apartment was quiet. "I didn't ask for one," Ethan finally replied. Reaper exhaled slowly. "Still, you deserve it." The rain had returned, tapping against windows like impatient fingers. "I wasn't hurt in an accident," Reaper continued. "I was run off the road." Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. "By who?" "People who don't like unfinished business." Reaper didn't name names. He didn't have to. Some rivalries didn't need introductions. "I was moving something important," Reaper said. "Something that couldn't fall into the wrong hands." Ethan frowned. "And it didn't?" A pause. "No," Reaper said, "because you stopped." The weight of a favor. Ethan felt cold. "If I hadn't, then I'd be dead," Reaper said plainly. "Or worse." Silence swallowed the words. "I don't want this tied to Lily," Ethan said immediately. "I won't have my daughter anywhere near. She won't be." Reaper cut in. "That's not how this works." His voice softened. "My world protects kids, always." Ethan didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. "You saved my life," Reaper continued, "and in my world, that creates a debt." "I don't want it," Ethan said. "You don't get to refuse it," Reaper replied, "but you get to define it." A shadow. Aritu Ernesto. Days later, Ethan saw the same black sedan again. This time, it didn't just pass, it stopped across the street. Ethan stood at the window, heart pounding, until a familiar figure stepped out. Leather jacket, calm posture, eyes scanning everything. Reaper. He walked up the stairs like he belonged there. "Bad timing," Reaper said, as Ethan opened the door. "But necessary." "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. Reaper glanced down the hallway, then back at him. "Someone's asking about you." Ethan felt his blood drain. "Why?" "Because people noticed what happened at the warehouse," Reaper said. "Power moves leave fingerprints. The rules are EXPLINID." They sat at the kitchen table. Reaper spoke quietly, carefully. "There are men who see kindness as weakness," he said. "They don't understand it unless it's punished." Ethan swallowed. "And you think they'll come here?" Reaper shook his head. "Not if I make things clear." "How?" Reaper's eyes hardened. "By reminding them who stood up for you." Ethan looked at him. "I don't want violence." "You won't see any," Reaper said, "but you'll feel the absence of it." The meeting. Nitrogen monoxide. 1 talks about that same night. In a warehouse far from Ethan's world, engines idled in a slow, patient rhythm. Men stood in a loose circle, leather jackets catching the dim light. No shouting, no bravado, just understanding. Reaper stepped forward. "One man helped me," he said. "Didn't know who I was, didn't ask for anything." A murmur rippled through the group. "He has a daughter," Reaper continued. "Anyone who touches his life touches all of ours." Silence followed, then nods. That was how protection was declared, not loudly, but absolutely. Among groups like the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, loyalty wasn't a slogan, it was a sentence. The WARANG. The next morning, Ethan's phone rang from an unknown number. "You need to tell your biker friends to back off," a rough voice said. "You don't belong in this." Ethan's voice stayed steady. "I don't have biker friends." A laugh, cold. "Everyone belongs once they're noticed." The line went dead. Ethan stared at the phone, hands shaking. This wasn't over. Reaper draws the line. Reaper showed up an hour later. "You got a call," he said. Ethan nodded. Reaper's jaw tightened. "Then it's time." "For what?" Ethan asked. "For the lesson," Reaper replied. "That some men are off limits." Ethan hesitated. "I don't want blood on my hands." Reaper met his eyes. "You won't have any pursuit to leave, but the men who tried to scare you," Reaper added, "they're about to learn something expensive." Ethan helped a biker once. Now, forces he didn't understand were moving because of him, and the most dangerous thing in the world wasn't violence, it was loyalty with memory. If this story has you hooked, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you respect biker brotherhood and the spirit of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us complete our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. The silence that surrounds the threats stopped. That should have been comforting. It wasn't. Ethan noticed the silence, the way sailors notice a sea that suddenly goes flat. No calls, no unknown numbers, no cars idling too long near the curb. Even the warehouse felt lighter, like pressure had been removed from a room. Without anyone opening a window, silence wasn't peace, it was aftermath. What Ethan never saw. Ethan went to work, came home, helped Lily with spelling, cooked dinner, lived the life of a man who refused to look directly at the shadow standing just behind him, 3 neighborhoods away. The lesson was being delivered. No fists, no sirens, no broken bones, just consequences. A meeting happened in a place that wasn't on any map, a closed repair shop with the lights off and the doors open just enough for bikes to roll in quietly. Men arrived in 2s and 3s, engines off, helmets under arms, faces unreadable. Reaper stood in the center. Across from him stood the men who made the call, the one who laughed. The one who thought fear was leverage. The rules are spoken. Eloyuda. Reaper didn't raise his voice, he didn't threaten, he simply spoke. "You called a man who doesn't belong to you," he said. The rough-voiced caller shifted his weight. "We were just letting him know." "No," Reaper interrupted. "You were testing him." Silence followed. "He stopped for me when he didn't have to," Reaper continued. "That makes him mine to protect." A scoff. "Since when do you claim civilians?" Reaper's eyes hardened. "Since they proved they're better men than us." That landed hard. The price of a phone call. No punches were thrown. Instead, names were mentioned, businesses, routes, supply chains, people who preferred to stay invisible. Reaper didn't threaten to destroy anything, he threatened to withdraw silence. The men across from him understood immediately. One bad call had cost them more than money, it had cost them standing. "You won't contact him again," Reaper said. "You won't look at his house, you won't say his name." A pause. "And if he ever needs something," Reaper added quietly, "you'll help." That was the real punishment. Back in Ethan's WROD, Ethan felt it that same evening. The landlord knocked. "I wanted to apologize," the man said awkwardly. "Rent increase. We'll delay that." Ethan blinked. "Why?" The landlord shrugged. "Just feels like the right thing." Later, Lily came home smiling. "Daddy, the school said my trip's already paid for." Ethan froze. "By who?" "They didn't say." He didn't ask again. The uncomfortable wrote. That night, Ethan called Reaper. "I think things are happening around me," Ethan said carefully. "Yes," Reaper replied. "I don't like it," Ethan admitted. "That means you're still you," Reaper said. "Good." A pause. "You won't owe us forever," Reaper continued. "Debts don't chain good men, they protect them until balance is restored." Ethan exhaled. "When does that happen?" Reaper smiled on the other end of the line. "Sooner than you think." A lesson for Lilia. Week later, Lily asked a question Ethan hadn't prepared for. "Daddy, why are people being so nice lately?" Ethan knelt beside her. "Because sometimes doing the right thing reminds others to do the same." She thought about that. "Like when I shared my crayons even though I didn't want to." Ethan smiled softly. Exactly like that. She nodded, satisfied. Ethan wasn't, because crayons didn't come with consequences. The final CIO and FR Meteo and Reaper visited one last time that month. No sedan, no entourage. Just him. I came to tell you it's done, Reaper said. What is? Ethan asked. The debt, Reaper replied. It's settled. Ethan felt relief, and something like loss. Why? Tell me in person, he asked. Because men who act without asking deserve answers without lies, Reaper said. He stood at the door, then paused. You ever need help? Reaper added. You won't have to ask twice. Ethan nodded. I hope I never do. Reaper smiled faintly. So do I. He left, and this time, the silence that followed felt earned. What the street RAMMBR is the neighborhood. Never spoke about it, but they remembered. They remembered how nothing bad ever seemed to happen to Ethan's place, how problems solved themselves, how respect flowed without explanation. They remembered the rule, even if they never heard it spoken. Some people are protected because they proved they deserved it. Ethan never wanted power. He only wanted to do the right thing. But in a world ruled by loyalty, that made him untouchable. If this story hit you, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you respect biker loyalty and the spirit of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. The day money meant Anotia Chioji. The call came from the school nurse. Ethan answered it smiling, the way parents do when they expect a minor scrape or a forgotten lunch. He stopped smiling halfway through the sentence. Mr. Cole, the nurse said gently. Lily collapsed during recess. The world narrowed to a single sound, Ethan's own breathing. Suddenly, too loud. I'm on my way, he said. Already moving, the longest dark of red light was an insult. Every second stretched thin when Ethan burst through the school doors. Lily was sitting on a cot, pale, eyes glassy, a juice box in her hands she hadn't touched. She fainted, the nurse said. Her blood sugar dropped. Has she been eating? Ethan's chest tightened. Yes, I make sure of it. The nurse hesitated. She's been tired lately. We recommend a full checkup. Hospital tests. Words that turned into numbers faster than Ethan could process. By nightfall, a doctor sat across from him with a file and a careful expression. She has a condition, the doctor said. Manageable. But it requires treatment, medication, monitoring. Ethan nodded, pretending he understood. And the cost? He asked quietly. The doctor named a number. It landed like a hammer. The wall he couldn't see. Helium by insurance covered some. Not enough. Savings helped. Not enough. Ethan sat in his car afterward, hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. This wasn't a landlord problem. This wasn't a job problem. This was his daughter. For the first time since everything began, Ethan considered doing the one thing he'd sworn not to. He pulled out his phone, asking. Oh, and see a Reaper answered on the second ring. I said I hoped I'd never need this, Ethan said, voice tight. You're calling, Reaper replied calmly. That means you do. Ethan swallowed his pride. Lily's sick. I can handle the care. I can't handle the cost. There was no pause this time. Send me the details, Reaper said. I don't want Ethan, Reaper interrupted. You stopped once. This is me stopping now. The line stayed open long enough for Ethan to hear Reaper stand up. Then it went dead. The rule that BRA Reaper had rules. One of them was simple. Never involve kids. He broke it without hesitation. Not by intimidation. Not by pressure. By calling in favors he'd earned over decades. Quiet ones. Doctors who owed their star to someone. Pharmacies that understood discretion. Foundations that didn't advertise where their money really came from. By sunrise, the bill wasn't gone. It was irrelevant. The envelopia plain envelope appeared in Ethan's mailbox 2 days later. No name, no logo. Inside was a letter. Treatment approved. Medication secured. Follow-up scheduled. Focus on being her father. Ethan sat on the steps and cried for the first time in years. Not loud, not dramatic. Just relief leaking out of him like air from a tire that had been overinflated too long. The conversation that emitited that night. Lily sat at the table drawing. Daddy, she said softly, am I broken? Ethan crossed the room in 2 steps and knelt in front of her. No, he said firmly. You're different in a way. We just have to understand better. She studied him, like how some people need glasses. He smiled through the ache in his chest. Exactly like that. She nodded. Okay. Double quotes. Children were braver than adults gave them credit for. The cost of meal. Didn't visit, he didn't call, he didn't want thanks, but a message came through later that week. A single sentence. Debt cleared again. Don't count. Ethan stared at the screen for a long time. This wasn't charity, this was honor. A line in the S&D, at the warehouse. Ethan worked harder than ever, not out of fear, out of gratitude. He stayed invisible, useful, reliable. The world around him had learned its lesson, and the one rule that mattered most had been rewritten quietly. Some lines, once drawn, are never crossed again. Ethan learned something most men never do. Strength isn't loud, protection isn't violent, and loyalty, real loyalty, shows up when money means nothing. If this story touched you, subscribe to Bikershype, like and share this video with your friends. If you believe in brotherhood, loyalty, and standing up when it matters, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. The moment courage is CHOACN, the danger didn't return loudly. It came back wearing a uniform. Ethan noticed the cruiser outside the warehouse. First parked too neatly. Engine running. Officer inside pretending to check a tablet while watching the loading bays. By lunch, there were two. By the end of the shift, a third rolled past slow enough to feel intentional. Fear has a smell. Ethan knew it. The question no one wanted to ask. The warehouse manager pulled Ethan aside near the end of the day. Have you made any new friends lately? He asked, trying to sound casual. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. No. The manager swallowed. Police are asking questions. About what? About you. That night, a knock came at the apartment door. Not precise, not threatening. Official. Ethan opened it to a woman in a dark jacket, badge catching the hallway light. Mr. Cole, she said. Detective Ramirez. May we talk? Lily peeked from her room. Ethan stepped outside and closed the door behind him. The interview. Do you associate with known biker groups? Ramirez asked. No, Ethan said truthfully. Have you received financial assistance from any such individuals? Ethan hesitated just long enough to matter. Ramirez noticed. Sir, we're not accusing you of anything, but people around you have influence. Ethan's jaw tightened. My daughter was sick. I accepted help. Ramirez studied him. From whom? Ethan met her gaze. From people who believe kids should be protected. A long pause. Ramirez exhaled. Be careful, she said quietly. Good intentions attract attention. She left without another word. The catch-ich. Ethan stood in the doorway for a long time. He could pull away, go quiet, disappear. Or he could stand still and let the truth be what it was. He called Reaper. They're sniffing around, Ethan said. I know, Reaper replied. They always do. I don't want this to hurt Lily. It won't, Reaper said. But I need to ask you something. Ethan braced himself. What? Are you willing to tell the truth if asked again? Ethan closed his eyes. Yes. Reaper nodded on the other end of the line. Then this ends clean. The meeting with POWR 2 days later. Ethan was invited, not summoned, to the precinct. Ramirez was there. So was a man in a plain suit who didn't introduce himself. We've reviewed everything, the man said. No crimes, no coercion, no impropriety. Ramirez added. You did nothing wrong. Ethan waited. But, the suited man continued, we suggest you keep your distance from COMPLICATED people. Ethan nodded. I plan to keep my distance from trouble, not from gratitude. The man smiled thinly. Fair answer. They let him go. Lily changes EVR White Arching that evening. Lily tugged on Ethan's sleeve as he cooked. Daddy, she said, can I give my extra snacks to the new kid at school? He doesn't have lunch sometimes. Ethan froze, spatula midair. Why? He asked gently. She shrugged. Because it feels bad when people don't stop. Ethan knelt and hugged her, the truth landing softly and hard at the same time. She had learned the lesson. Already. The final WRDA Reaper called that night. They closed the file, he said. Good, Ethan replied. You stood your ground, Reaper added. Not everyone can. Ethan smiled faintly. I learned from the best. Reaper chuckled. Careful, compliments get expensive. Before hanging up, Reaper said one last thing. If anyone ever asks who protected you, he said, tell them this. A single dad did the right thing. The rest followed. Ethan chose courage, not because he wanted power, but because fear had no claim on him anymore. And Lily, She became the reason the story mattered. If this story moved you, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you believe in loyalty, honor, and protecting the innocent, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. If you respect the brotherhood spirit, often associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, prove your love by sharing this story. The test now 1 expctt. The street changed first. It wasn't dramatic. No sirens, no confrontations, just small things that added up, like neighbors learning how to listen again. The old woman downstairs started leaving her porch light on at night. The mechanic on the corner fixed brakes for free if he thought someone needed it more than money. Kids rode their bikes a little later than usual, and no one complained. Protection doesn't announce itself. It settles in. Ethan noticed it the night the power went out. The BLACKOU tether lights snapped off just after sunset. Not just Ethan's building. 3 blocks went dark. The air felt wrong immediately. Too quiet, too still. Lily clutched his shirt. "Daddy, I've got you," Ethan said, lighting a candle. From the window, he saw shadows moving, not rushing, coordinated, watching. Then his phone buzzed. "Stay inside. We're handling it." Reaper Hythen's jaw tightened. "Handling what?" The reply came instantly. "The test." The other side of the street across the darkened blocks, a small group moved with purpose. Not bikers, not police. Men who liked the space between rules. They were looking for leverage, and they thought that blackout gave it to them. They were wrong. A single bike rolled into the darkness, engine quiet, headlight off until the last moment. Then another, and another. The sound wasn't loud. It was confident. A voice carried through the dark. Calm, final. "Not this street." That was all it took. The men melted back into the night, understanding the message they'd been sent. Some places would off-limits. Ethan. Single quotes are saying Ethan could have stayed inside. Reaper expected him to. Instead, Ethan stepped onto the porch, Lily wrapped in a blanket behind him. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He turned on his porch light. One by one, other lights came on. The street followed him. When the power returned 10 minutes later, the block looked different, like it had passed a quiet exam. Reaper called. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I know," Ethan replied, "but hiding isn't protection. It's fear." A pause. "You're changing the rules," Reaper said. Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe just reminding people of them." The Sasa IFIs, either next day. Reaper visited Lone. "They'll test again," he said. "Not here. Somewhere you can't see." Ethan frowned. "What do you need?" Reaper met his eyes. "Distance from me. For a while." Ethan understood instantly. Protection sometimes meant absence. "I can do that," Ethan said. Reaper nodded. "Good, because if they can't use you, they'll stop trying." He stood to leave, then paused. "You did something last night." "What?" "You gave people permission to be brave." Lily's let it tear that evening. Lily slid a folded paper across the table. "It's for the motorcycle man," she said. Ethan opened it carefully. Inside was a drawing, a house with lights on, a small stick figure dad holding hands with a smaller stick figure girl. On the edge of the page, a bike stood like a guard. The words were shaky, but clear. "Thank you for stopping." Ethan swallowed hard. The street DCIDS weeks passed. No incidents, no whispers, no shadows. The street had chosen what it wanted to be. When a stranger's car broke down, 3 people stopped. When a kid scraped his knee, 5 hands offered help. When someone asked who made it safe, no one pointed. They just shrugged. That's how it is here. The test wasn't about strength. It was about example, and one small family had set it. If this chapter hit you, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you believe in loyalty, courage, and standing together, share this story and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. If you respect the brotherhood spirit, often associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, prove your love by sharing this video. The return that changed every white change. Time passed the way it does when fear finally lets go. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Ethan fell into a rhythm again. Work, home, Lily's checkups, evenings on the porch where neighbors lingered longer than they used to. The street had learned how to breathe. That's when Reaper returned. No blackout, no warning, just the low, familiar sound of a bike rolling to a stop at the curb one late afternoon. Arthur saw him through the window and felt it in his chest. Not fear this time, recognition. The visit, without SHRDO, stood alone on the sidewalk, helmet under his arm. No sedan, no watches, no weight in the air, just a man. "You look healthier," Reaper said as Ethan stepped outside. "So do you," Ethan replied. They stood there for a moment, neither rushing to speak. Some conversations didn't need momentum. "I came to say goodbye," Reaper said finally. Ethan nodded. "I figured. Things are settled," Reaper continued. "The street's quiet. The interest faded. And you?" Ethan asked. Reaper smiled faintly. "I go where I'm needed. Lately, that's farther away." The final favor. Reaper reached into his jacket and pulled out a small envelope. "One last thing," he said. "For Lily, education fund. Clean, no strings." Ethan didn't take it. "I can't," he said gently. Reaper raised an eyebrow. "You earned it." Ethan shook his head. "You already gave us what mattered." Reaper studied him, searching for hesitation. There wasn't any dot. After a long moment, Reaper tucked the envelope back into his jacket. "Most people don't refuse," he said. "Most people aren't trying to stay small," Ethan replied. Reaper nodded once. "Fair." The street witnesses, a few neighbors, watched from porches and windows. No one whispered, no one filmed. They didn't need proof. They'd already felt the change. Reaper turned to leave, then stopped. "You know," he said, "there are men who spend their lives trying to be feared." He looked back at Ethan. "You spent yours trying to be decent." He gestured to the street. "This is what decent builds." Lily's MO Maya and Tilly ran out then, waving the drawing she'd made weeks ago. "Mr. she called. "I made another one." Reaper knelt, careful and awkward, like a man who didn't kneel often. She handed him the picture. This one showed the same house, same lights, but now the bike was riding away, the rider waving. Reaper swallowed. "Thank you," he said quietly. Lily smiled. "Be safe." He stood, helmet back on. "I always am," he said. But they both knew that wasn't the point. The last RID, the bike rolled away slow enough for everyone to see. No revving, no show dot, just a man leaving something better behind. Then he found it. Ethan watched until the sound faded completely. He didn't feel abandoned, he felt trusted. What stayed behind? Nothing dramatic happened after that, and that was the miracle. No threats returned. No shadows crept back. No debts resurfaced. The street became the kind of place where help arrived before fear did. And when someone asked why, the answer was always the same. Someone once stopped when it mattered. Reaper left, but what he protected didn't disappear. Because protection isn't a person, it's a standard. If this story has stayed with you, subscribe to Bikershype. Like and share this video with your friends. If you respect loyalty, honor, and the brotherhood spirit often associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers target. Now prove your love. What the world remembered years passed quietly. That was the shock. No explosions, no revenge, no dramatic headlines, just life, steady, ordinary, unremarkable in the way miracles often are. Ethan kept his job, then earned a better one. Promotions came not because he demanded them, but because people trusted him. When problems appeared, they put him in the room. When decisions mattered, they asked his opinion. He never mentioned bikers. No one ever asked. Some understandings don't need language. Lily grows up. Lily grew taller, stronger, smarter. Her condition became routine medication, checkups, discipline. She learned responsibility early, but never bitterness. She volunteered at school, helped kids who fell behind, stopped when others didn't. One afternoon, years later, she came home excited. "Dad, I helped a man today." Ethan's heart skipped. "What kind of help?" "He fell off his bike," she said casually. "People were staring, so I stopped." Ethan sat down slowly. "What did you do?" "I called for help, stayed with him, made sure he was okay." She smiled. "You taught me that." Ethan felt the circle close. The street still knows. The street never went back to what it was. People waved, looked out for each other, borrowed tools, shared meals during hard weeks. When trouble tried to move in, it didn't stay. Not because of fear, because of expectation. The expectation that someone would stop. That was the real legacy. The last message on a random evening, years after Reaper disappeared down that road. Ethan received a message from an unknown number. No greeting, no explanation, just 6 words. "Street still standing. You did good." Ethan stared at the screen, then deleted the message. He didn't need to keep it. Some things lived better in memory. The truth: nitrogen monoxide. Unexpected. People thought the shocking part of the story was this, that a biker protected a single dad. That power moved without violence. That fear disappeared. They were wrong. The shocking part was simpler. A tired man stopped his car for 30 seconds, did the right thing, and never tried to be anything more than himself. And because of that, an entire world shifted just enough to matter. The final scene: years later, on a rainy evening that felt strangely familiar, Ethan saw a biker stopped on the side of the road, engine dead, hazard lights blinking. Ethan slowed. Lily looked at him. "Dad," he smiled, and pulled over. If this story moved you, subscribe to Bikershype, like this video and share it with your friends. If you love biker brotherhood, loyalty, and honor, especially the spirit often associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, share this video and help us complete our 1,000 subscribers target. Comment your name below. Your name could be used for a character in our next story. Now prove your love.